The first Valkyrie soldier to die never knew what killed him. Private Ko Unesio moved through the alien ship like a ghost made of death itself. Her enhanced senses could detect the electrical activity of enemy nervous systems through the metal walls of the ship. She knew exactly where each alien was hiding and exactly how to reach them without being detected. The Valkyrie had no idea they were being hunted. Ko Unesio slipped through the ventilation systems of the alien vessel, moving with perfect silence. Her enhanced muscles allowed her to crawl through spaces that would have been impossible for a normal human. Her improved reflexes meant she could change direction instantly if she detected any threat ahead. The aliens had built their ships to keep enemies out, but they had never faced an enemy like this. When she dropped down behind the first group of Valkyrie warriors, they were discussing their battle plans in their strange clicking language. Her enhanced mind had already learned their language just from listening to their communications for a few minutes. She understood that they were confident about conquering Earth. They thought the humans would surrender after the first few cities were destroyed. Ko Unesio moved among them like lightning. Her enhanced speed made her seem to teleport from one target to the next. The Valkyrie soldiers were wearing advanced armor that could stop any normal human weapon, but her bare hands were strong enough to crush their bones. Through the metal, the first alien fell before the others even realized they were under attack. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Nande Hayan was coordinating the assault on the Valkyrie command ship from his position aboard the UES Retribution. His enhanced mind could process tactical information from hundreds of sources at once. He could see the entire battle unfolding across the solar system and predict enemy movements before they happened. His brain worked like a quantum computer dedicated entirely to Warnam De Hyan. Watched the displays showing the positions of every human and alien ship in the solar system. The Valkyrie had arranged their forces in what they thought was an unbeatable formation. They had studied human military tactics and positioned their ships to counter every strategy in the human playbook. But they had not prepared for enemies who could think faster than their computers. The enhanced humans did not use the tactics that the aliens expected. Instead, they moved in patterns that seemed random but were actually perfectly coordinated. Each human ship knew exactly where every other ship would be at every moment. They flowed around the alien formations like water, finding every weakness and exploiting it instantly. Sergeant Bayansu led his squad of enhanced marines through the engineering section of an alien battleship. The Valkyrie had thought their ship designs were perfect, but the enhanced humans could see flaws that the aliens had never noticed. They knew exactly which systems to target to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. Every step they took was calculated to bring them closer to complete victory. The aliens tried to fall back to defensive positions, but the enhanced humans anticipated every move. The Valkyrie would set up an ambush and find that the humans had already moved around it. They would try to retreat and discover that their escape routes had been cut off. The enhanced humans were not just fighting a battle, they were conducting a symphony of destruction. As Bayansu and his squad moved deeper into the alien ship, they discovered something that changed everything. The engineering section contained data cores that revealed the truth about the Valkyrie invasion. These aliens were not conquerors looking for new territory to rule. They were refugees fleeing from something even worse, something that had been destroying their empire. World by world, the data showed images of entire star systems being consumed by creatures called the Devourers. These monsters ate planets and stars, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The Valkyrie had been running from this threat for decades, desperately looking for new worlds where they could rebuild their civilization. They had chosen Earth not because they were greedy, but because they were terrified. But this knowledge did not make the enhanced humans show mercy. Instead, it made them even more determined to eliminate the alien threat completely. If the Valkyrie were fleeing from something worse, then they could not be allowed to bring that danger to Earth. Every alien had to die to ensure that the Devourers would never learn about humanity. The enhanced humans began systematically hunting through every corridor of every alien ship. They moved with perfect coordination, sharing information instantly through their neural links. When one enhanced human learned something useful, every other enhanced human knew it immediately. They functioned like a single organism with thousands of deadly limbs. The Valkyrie tried desperately to fight back, but their weapons and tactics were useless against enemies who could predict their every move. The aliens had conquered 43 worlds using overwhelming force and superior technology, but they had never faced a species that could adapt and evolve during battle itself. The enhanced humans learned from every encounter, becoming more deadly with each passing minute. Ship after ship fell silent as the enhanced humans completed their grim work. The alien crews fought bravely, but they might as well have been fighting a force of nature. The enhanced humans showed no emotion, no hesitation, no mercy. They moved through the alien vessels like a plague, leaving only death in their wake. By the end of the first day of battle, half the Valkyrie fleet had been eliminated. The remaining aliens sent desperate messages to their home empire warning them about the terrible mistake they had made, but the enhanced humans intercepted these transmissions and made sure none of them reached their destination. The galaxy would not learn about humanity's true nature until it was far too late. The hunt was far from over. The enhanced humans would not stop until every alien threat had been eliminated. They had awakened something in themselves that could never be put back to sleep. They had become the apex predators of the galaxy, and they were just getting started. Dr. Choi Min-ho walked through the underground laboratory that stretched for miles beneath the surface of Earth. The facility was so secret that even most government leaders did not know it existed. Here in the darkness, far from prying eyes, humanity had been preparing for this moment ever since the first alien signals had been detected decades ago. The time for preparation was almost over. 3 days before the alien attack was scheduled to begin, Dr. Choi activated the most dangerous project in human history. The Awakening Protocol was not like any weapon system ever built. It would not destroy enemy ships or protect human cities. Instead, it would do something far more frightening. It would remove the mental barriers that kept humans from becoming the ultimate predators they were meant to be. Engineer Yang Haijin watched as the massive quantum computers came online one by one. Each computer was connected to a network that reached every human settlement in the solar system. The network could interface with the tiny implants that every human had received at birth. Most people thought these implants were just for medical monitoring, tracking heart rate and brain activity to prevent disease. But they had a second purpose that no one suspected. The implants could enhance human abilities beyond anything nature had ever intended. They could make reflexes faster than lightning, make minds work like supercomputers, and remove the psychological blocks that prevented humans from using their full capacity for violence and destruction. The enhanced humans would become living weapons, more dangerous than any alien technology. Yang Haijin had helped design the system, but even she was afraid of what would happen when it activated. She knew that the humans who underwent the enhancement would save Earth from the alien invasion, but she also knew they would no longer be entirely human. They would become something new, something that might be just as dangerous to normal humans as the aliens were. The first test subject was Captain Zhang Wusung, a Marine who had volunteered to undergo the experimental process. He lay on the medical table as the technicians prepared to activate his implant. He had been told that the procedure might change him forever, but he was willing to take that risk to save his species. When the activation began, his body convulsed as new neural pathways formed in his brain. Within minutes, Captain Zhang could see and hear and think in ways he had never imagined possible. He could track the movement of dust particles in the air, predict the exact moment a water drop would fall from a leaking pipe, and process tactical information at speeds that made regular computers look slow. His reaction time had improved by a factor of 10, and his strength had doubled, but the most dramatic change was in his mind. The psychological barriers that had prevented him from using extreme violence were completely gone. Captain Zhang looked at the world around him and saw only potential targets and tactical advantages. He felt no fear, no doubt, no mercy, only a cold, calculating desire to eliminate any threat to humanity. The enhancement had worked perfectly, but the man who had volunteered for the procedure no longer existed. Dr. Choi Min-ho watched the transformation with mixed feelings. He had created the perfect soldier, but he had also destroyed a human being in the process. The enhanced Captain Zhang was more effective than an entire squad of normal Marines, but he was also something that normal humans would instinctively fear. There would be no going back once the protocol was fully activated. As News of the successful test spread through the secret facility. Thousands of volunteers stepped forward to undergo the enhancement process. They were soldiers and pilots and engineers who understood that someone had to make this sacrifice to save Earth. They knew they would lose their humanity, but they were willing to pay that price. For the survival of their species, the enhancement process was fast, but it was also irreversible. Within hours, the facility was filled with enhanced humans who moved with perfect coordination and deadly purpose. They no longer laughed or joked or showed any of the emotions that made humans human. Instead, they focused entirely on preparing for the coming battle with an intensity that was both beautiful and terrifying. Engineer Park Se-jin had been enhanced just 2 hours earlier, and she was already redesigning human weapon systems with insights that normal engineers could never have achieved. Her enhanced mind could see patterns and possibilities that had been invisible before. She was creating new technologies in minutes that would have taken normal humans years to develop. The enhanced humans did not sleep or eat unless their bodies absolutely required it. They spent every moment analyzing alien ship designs, studying enemy tactics, and preparing for battle. They worked together with perfect coordination, as if they shared a single mind focused on the complete destruction of the alien threat. They had become a hive mind dedicated to war. As the alien ships began moving into their final attack positions, the enhanced humans prepared to give them a welcome that would echo through the galaxy for generations. The Valkyrie thought they were attacking a primitive species that would surrender after the first show of force. Instead, they were about to encounter predators who had evolved specifically to destroy anything that threatened their territory. The normal humans on Earth had no idea what was happening in the secret facilities. They went to sleep on what they thought might be their last night as a free species. But deep underground, their enhanced brothers and sisters were making final preparations for a battle that would prove once and for all that humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. When the alien attack began the next morning, the enhanced humans were ready. They boarded their ships and prepared to show the Valkyrie Empire why choosing Earth as a target had been the worst mistake in their species' history. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not prey, they were apex predators who had simply been pretending to be helpless. The Awakening Protocol had worked exactly as designed. It had created the perfect weapons against alien invasion. But it had also created something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Forever, the enhanced humans were no longer bound by the limitations that had held their species back. They were evolution accelerated into its most deadly form, and they were ready to hunt. Captain Lee Tae-ho pressed his face against the thick glass window of the UES Vengeance and stared into the dark void of space. His breath made small clouds on the cold surface as he watched the massive alien ship floating near the red planet. Mars. The ship was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth, and it just sat there in the asteroid field like a sleeping monster waiting to wake up. For 3 whole months, these strange ships had been arriving one by one from deep space. Each ship was different, but all of them looked dangerous, with sharp edges and dark metal that seemed to swallow light itself. The aliens inside never talked, never sent any messages, never even showed that they knew humans existed. They just positioned their ships around Earth's solar system like hunters surrounding their prey park. Ji-woo sat at his computer station trying for the 100th time that day to contact the aliens. He was the best communications officer in the entire United Earth Syndicate fleet, but these creatures made him feel helpless. He had tried every radio frequency, every mathematical pattern, every type of greeting signal that human science could create. Nothing worked. The alien ships stayed as quiet as tombstones. The silence was driving everyone crazy on the human ship. Soldiers walked the hallways with worried faces. Scientists worked day and night trying to understand what the aliens wanted. Politicians on Earth argued about whether to attack first or keep waiting. The aliens had been sitting out there for so long that some people were starting to think maybe they were not dangerous at all. Maybe they were just lost or broken, but Lee Tae-ho knew better. He had been a soldier for 20 years, and he could smell danger like other people could smell smoke. These aliens were not lost. They were planning something big. The way their ships were positioned was too perfect to plan. They had surrounded the solar system in a pattern that would let them attack Earth from every direction at once. What the humans did not know was that far away in another part of the galaxy, the Valkyrie Empire had done this exact same thing many times before they were experts at conquering weak species. They would study their targets for months or years, learning about their weapons, their defenses, their weaknesses. Then when they were ready, they would attack with overwhelming force and take over the planet in a few days. The Valkyrie had been watching Earth. For a very long time, they had seen humans fighting wars with each other using simple weapons like bullets and bombs. They had watched human spaceships that moved slowly using chemical rockets that barely got them to their own moon, the Valkyrie. Leaders laughed when they saw how primitive the humans were. This conquest would be easier than taking candy from a child, but there was something the Valkyrie did not understand about humans, something that would soon turn their perfect plan into their worst nightmare. The Valkyrie thought that technology was the most important thing in war. They believed that whoever had the best weapons would always win. They had never met a species like humans who could be more dangerous than any weapon ever built. Commander Kim So-ra walked through Luna Base on Earth's moon, looking at the reports from her scouts. 27 alien ships now surrounded the solar system. Each ship was the size of a small moon and carried enough firepower to destroy entire cities. The human fleet had only 43 ships, and most of them were much smaller than the alien vessels. The numbers looked impossible, but Kim So-ra was not worried about numbers. She was worried about time. Her agents had been watching the alien ships very carefully, and they had noticed something strange. The ships were not just waiting randomly. They were moving into final positions like chess pieces, preparing for checkmate. The attack would come soon, maybe in just a few days. Deep underground on Earth, in secret facilities that did not exist on any official maps, Dr. Choi Min-ho was working on something that would change everything. He had been working on this project for 10 years, ever since the first radio signals from space had been detected. His project was called the Awakening Protocol, and it was humanity's secret weapon against exactly this kind of threat. The Awakening Protocol was not about building bigger guns or stronger armor. It was about something much more basic and much more terrifying. It was about removing the safety limits that evolution had built into the human brain and body. Every human had the potential to be incredibly dangerous, incredibly smart, and incredibly determined, but nature had installed mental blocks to keep these abilities from being used all at once because they were too dangerous. Dr. Choi Min-ho knew that when the aliens finally attacked, humans would need every advantage they could get. The Awakening Protocol would give them that advantage, but the price would be higher than anyone could imagine. The humans who underwent the process would become something new, something that was no longer entirely human. They would become the perfect weapon against any enemy, but they might also become something that normal humans would fear. As the alien ships continued their silent watch, the people of Earth went about their daily lives. Most of them did not know how close they were to either salvation or destruction. The politicians kept arguing, the scientists kept studying, the soldiers kept training, but none of them knew that their fate would soon depend on a choice that would change what it meant to be human forever. The Valkyrie commander on the flagship studied the final attack plans. His species had conquered 43 worlds using these exact same tactics. They would strike fast and hard-hitting every human military base at the same time. Then they would demand surrender, and most species gave up rather than face total destruction. It had worked every single time for over 200 years, but this time would be different. This time the Valkyrie had chosen to attack a species that had spent its entire history fighting wars against itself, a species that had learned to be creative and brutal and determined in ways that the galaxy had never seen before. When the attack came, the aliens would discover that they had not found easy prey. They had awakened something that should have been left alone. The countdown to war was almost over. Soon, the alien ships would move from their positions and begin the attack that was supposed to conquer Earth in 3 days, but instead of conquest, they would find something that would haunt the survivors for the rest of their very short lives. They were about to learn why humans were the most dangerous predators in the galaxy, even when they looked like helpless prey. Admiral Shin the Jin stood on the bridge of the UES Sovereign, watching the final alien defense grid collapse under the relentless human assault. What should have been a desperate fight for survival had become something else entirely. The enhanced humans had turned the invasion into an extermination. The alien ships that had come to conquer Earth were now floating tomb ships, drifting silent and dead in the cold vacuum of space. The enhanced Marines had boarded every alien vessel in the fleet, and none of them had left any survivors. The Velkhari warriors who had conquered 43 worlds found themselves helpless against enemies who moved faster than thought and struck with precision that seemed impossible. The humans did not just win battles, they performed surgery, removing every trace of alien life with mechanical efficiency. Admiral Shin watched the tactical displays showing the positions of human and alien forces across the solar system. The red dots representing alien ships were disappearing one by one as the enhanced humans completed their work. Each ship took only a few hours to clear, no matter how large it was or how many defenders it held. The enhanced humans moved through alien vessels like death itself, flowing around obstacles and eliminating resistance with terrifying ease. On the bridge of the alien flagship, the Velkhari commander tried one last desperate gamble. He opened communication channels to the human fleet and began broadcasting surrender terms in every language his computers could generate. He offered to withdraw his forces to share alien technology to serve humanity as slaves. If only the humans would stop the slaughter, but the enhanced humans felt no desire for mercy or negotiation. The removal of their psychological barriers had eliminated concepts like compassion and forgiveness, along with fear and doubt. They saw the alien offer of surrender as a potential future threat that needed to be eliminated. The only acceptable outcome was the complete destruction of every alien in the solar system. Master Chief Park Seung-ho led the final assault on the Velkhari flagship, moving through its corridors with a squad of enhanced Marines who functioned like extensions of his own will. They no longer needed to communicate with words or gestures. Each Marine knew instinctively what the others were thinking and planning. Their coordination was so perfect it seemed supernatural. The aliens had filled their flagship with their most elite warriors, equipped with the best armor and weapons their technology could provide. These soldiers had fought across the galaxy and survived battles that had destroyed entire armies, but against the enhanced humans they lasted only minutes. The human Marines moved among them like reapers harvesting wheat, cutting down alien after alien with methodical precision. Park Seung-ho reached the command center, where he found the alien leadership gathered around their communication equipment. They were still trying to send surrender messages to anyone who would listen, begging for mercy that would never come. The enhanced human looked at them with eyes that held no trace of the compassion that had once defined his species. The aliens tried to explain about the devourers, about the threat that was consuming their empire, about why they had been forced to seek new worlds. They showed him images of planets being eaten by creatures that defied description, hoping that shared knowledge of a common enemy might save their lives. But the enhanced human saw only potential security risks that needed to be eliminated. When Park Seung-ho was finished with the command center, the flagship fell silent like all the others. The alien fleet that had come to conquer humanity had been reduced to empty hulks drifting in space. The enhanced humans had not just repelled an invasion, they had conducted a perfect genocide, leaving no survivors to carry word of their capabilities back to the alien empire. Dr. Lee Hyo-young worked in the captured alien laboratory, studying their technology with her enhanced pattern recognition abilities. Her upgraded mind could understand alien science in ways that would have taken normal human scientists decades to achieve. She absorbed information from alien computers, like a sponge soaking up water, learning secrets that would advance human civilization by centuries. The alien databanks contained star charts showing the locations of hundreds of civilizations across the galaxy. They held technological blueprints for weapons and ships. Beyond human imagination, they contained biological information about dozens of species, including detailed analysis of their weaknesses and how to exploit them. The enhanced humans now had everything they needed to become the dominant force in the galaxy. But the most important discovery was the complete records of the Devourer threat. The aliens had been telling the truth about creatures that consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The threat was real, and it was spreading across the galaxy at an alarming rate. Many civilizations had already fallen and more were falling every day. Dr. Lee Hyo-young analyzed the data with her enhanced cognitive abilities and reached a conclusion that would have horrified her previous self. The enhanced humans were perfectly equipped to fight the devourers. Their lack of fear, their unlimited capacity for violence, their perfect coordination would make them the ideal weapons against creatures that had destroyed countless worlds. The enhanced humans felt no satisfaction from their victory over the Valkyrie fleet. They experienced no joy or relief or pride in their accomplishment. The removal of their emotional barriers had made them perfect killers, but it had also removed much of what had once made them human. They had become living weapons focused entirely on eliminating threats to their species as the last alien life signs faded from the sensors. Throughout the solar system, an eerie silence settled over the battlefield. The space around Earth was filled with the wreckage of an empire that had made the fatal mistake of underestimating humanity. But this victory was only the beginning. The enhanced humans had tasted alien blood and found that they wanted more. The galaxy beyond contained hundreds of civilizations that might someday threaten Earth. The enhanced humans would find them all and eliminate every potential danger before it could develop. They had become something beyond human, something that existed only to ensure the survival of their species, no matter what the cost to themselves or others. Captain O. Minsik floated in the zero gravity of the alien flagship command center 3 days after the last Valkyrie warrior had died. He was searching through the massive data cores looking for information that might help humanity prepare for future threats. What he found instead was something that changed everything, a message that had been broadcasting continuously throughout the entire battle. The message was a desperate transmission from the dying Valkyrie fleet to their home empire. Far across the galaxy, it contained detailed recordings of the enhanced humans in action, along with tactical analysis that painted a terrifying picture of what humanity had become. The aliens had documented every aspect of the human transformation, including biological scans and psychological profiles. Intelligence Officer Ru Ji-hoon worked alongside Captain O, translating the alien language with his enhanced linguistic abilities. The message described humans who moved through alien ships like forces of nature, showing tactical creativity that exceeded anything in the Valkyrie military databases. It spoke of enemies who seemed to share a collective intelligence, coordinating their actions across vast distances with perfect precision. The most chilling part of the transmission was its desperate tone. The dying aliens begged their empire to avoid human space at all costs. They described enhanced humans who did not just kill but studied their enemies while destroying them, learning and adapting with each encounter. The Valkyrie officers who sent the message knew they were witnessing something that would change the balance of power in the entire galaxy. Ru Ji-hoon continued translating as the message revealed more disturbing details. The aliens had detected the quantum enhancement technology that made the human transformation possible. They had recorded detailed scans of human neural implants and had even captured samples of enhanced human tissue during the fighting. The Valkyrie had inadvertently provided their empire with everything needed to understand the threat humanity represented, but the message contained something even worse. The Valkyrie had managed to send detailed biological and technological data back to other alien civilizations before their communications were cut off. The information included genetic samples, enhanced human DNA patterns, and complete tactical analyses. The galaxy now knew exactly what humans were capable of and how they had achieved their transformation. Dr. Kwon Soo-min reviewed the intercepted communications with growing alarm in her laboratory aboard the research vessel. The enhanced humans had won a decisive victory against the Valkyrie, but their success had come at a terrible price. Every major civilization in the galaxy now possessed detailed information about human enhancement technology, and the strategic implications were staggering. The alien data revealed something that made the situation even more dangerous. The Valkyrie Empire had been in contact with dozens of other species, sharing information about potential threats and conquest targets. The message about enhanced humans had been forwarded to military leaders across multiple star systems. Some of these civilizations were far more advanced than the Valkyrie had been. Dr. Kwon studied the alien star charts with her enhanced analytical abilities and realized that humanity was now facing a completely different kind of danger. The surprise advantage that had allowed them to defeat the Valkyrie was gone. Every potential enemy now knew about the Awakening Protocol and would be preparing countermeasures. The next alien invasion would not underestimate human capabilities. The intercepted messages also revealed disturbing information about the Devourer threat. The creatures that had driven the Valkyrie from their homeworlds were not just mindless monsters. They were intelligent predators that learned from each civilization they consumed. The Devourers had been studying the tactics and technologies of their victims, becoming more dangerous with each conquest captain. Discovered additional transmissions buried deep in the alien data cores. These messages indicated that several major galactic civilizations were already preparing joint expeditions to deal with the human threat. They saw the enhanced humans as a potential solution to the Devourer problem, but they also recognized that humanity itself might become an even greater danger. The alien messages described emergency meetings of the Galactic Council, where representatives from hundreds of species debated whether to try recruiting humans as allies against the Devourers or to eliminate the human threat. Before it could spread, the vote had been close, but the decision was to attempt diplomatic contact while secretly preparing for war if negotiations failed. Dr. Kwan realized that the enhanced humans had created a paradox. By saving Earth, they had proven that humanity could defeat any alien threat, but in doing so, they had made themselves the primary target for every other species in the galaxy. The next phase of conflict would not be a simple invasion, it would be a coordinated assault by multiple civilizations working together. The most troubling discovery was evidence that some alien species had already begun experimenting with their own enhancement technologies. Inspired by the human example, several civilizations were attempting to create enhanced soldiers of their own using the biological data captured from the Valkyrie fleet. The galaxy was entering an arms race that could destroy entire star systems. As Captain O and his team continued analyzing the alien data, they found REFERENCES to something called the Final Protocol, a desperate last resort that the Galactic Council would implement if the human threat became too great. The details were encrypted, but the implications were clear. If humanity could not be controlled or eliminated through conventional means, the aliens were prepared to use weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. The NHANCED humans processed this information with their typical cold efficiency. They felt no fear or concern about the galactic response to their actions. Instead, they began calculating tactical advantages and planning countermeasures. The revelation that they had become the primary threat to galactic civilization only confirmed that their transformation had been successful. Ru Ji-hoon finished translating the final portions of the alien message where terrified Valkyrie officers described their last moments fighting against enhanced humans. The descriptions were so disturbing that even other alien species would hesitate before attacking Earth. The message had become both a warning and an advertisement for human capabilities. The discovery of the intercepted communications marked a turning point in human history. The enhanced soldiers had saved Earth from the Valkyrie invasion, but they had also announced humanity's presence to the entire galaxy. The next phase of conflict would determine whether humanity would become the dominant species in the universe, or whether they would be destroyed by the combined might of civilizations that feared what they had become. 6 months after the Valkyrie invasion ended, the United Earth Syndicate faced the most difficult decision in human history. The enhanced humans who had saved Earth from alien conquest were no longer human in any meaningful way. They had become something new, something that existed only to identify and eliminate threats to the human species with ruthless efficiency. The question now was whether they should remain that way. General Yoon Tae-young sat in his office reviewing psychological reports that made his blood run cold. The enhanced humans showed no interest in the normal activities that had once defined human life. They did not laugh or cry or form emotional attachments. They did not pursue hobbies or entertainment or personal relationships. Instead, they spent every waking moment analyzing potential threats and developing strategies for elimination. Enhanced soldiers lived in a constant state of combat readiness. Their minds worked like quantum computers dedicated entirely to warfare. and survival, they could process tactical information at speeds that made regular computers seem slow. They could predict enemy movements before those enemies had decided to move. They had become the perfect weapons, but they were no longer recognizably human. Dr. On Young-ho worked frantically in his laboratory trying to develop a way to reverse the enhancement process. He had been studying the neural implants for months, looking for a method to restore the psychological barriers that had been removed, but every attempt at reversal failed. The changes to the enhanced human brain were too extensive and too fundamental to undo. The most disturbing aspect of the enhanced humans was their complete lack of interest in returning to their previous state. When Dr. An offered them the possibility of becoming normal humans again, they refused without hesitation. They had seen the data about the devourers and the other threats that existed beyond the edge of known space. Someone needed to be ready for whatever was coming. The enhanced humans had accepted the burden of remaining what they had become to protect those who could not protect themselves. They understood that normal humans would fear and distrust them, but they also knew that their sacrifice was necessary for species survival. They had chosen to become monsters so that others could remain human. Meanwhile, the galaxy had taken careful notice of what happened to the Valkyrie fleet. Trade routes now avoided human space entirely, and several alien species had sent diplomatic envoys offering tribute and non-aggression pacts. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had become so feared that potential enemies chose submission over conflict. The diplomatic messages from alien civilizations all contained similar themes. They acknowledged human superiority in warfare and requested permission to continue existing in the same galaxy. They offered technology, resources, and territory in exchange for guarantees that humans would not expand beyond their current borders. The enhanced humans considered these offers with cold calculation. Some alien species offered to serve as advanced scouts for humanity, helping to identify potential threats before they could develop into serious problems. Others proposed joint expeditions against the devourers, combining alien technology with human tactical superiority. The enhanced humans evaluated each proposal based entirely on its potential benefit to human survival, but not all alien civilizations were interested in peaceful coexistence. Intelligence reports indicated that several major galactic powers were secretly forming military alliances designed to contain or eliminate the human threat. They had studied the Valkyrie data carefully and were developing weapons and tactics specifically designed to counter enhanced human abilities. The NHANCED humans processed this information without emotion or concern. They had expected this response and were already preparing countermeasures. Their ships had been upgraded with technology captured from the Valkyrie fleet. Their weapons had been enhanced with alien materials. Their tactical databases contained detailed information about every known alien species. General Yoon realized that humanity had achieved exactly what the Valkyrie Empire had been trying to accomplish: survival in a hostile galaxy through superior violence. But unlike the aliens, humans had paid the ultimate price by sacrificing their own nature to become something that could guarantee the species' continued existence. The enhanced humans began preparing for their next mission. They would take their ships beyond the solar system to hunt for signs of the devourers and to eliminate any alien threats before those threats could reach Earth. They would become humanity's sword and shield, protecting normal humans from dangers they could not even imagine. As the enhanced warriors prepared to leave Earth behind forever, they showed no sadness or regret about abandoning their homeworld. They understood that their transformation had made them incompatible with normal human society. Their presence would only create fear and suspicion among the people they had sworn to protect. Dr. An watched the enhanced humans boarding their ships with a mixture of admiration and horror. They had saved humanity from extinction, but they had paid for that victory with their souls. They had become something beyond human limitations, but they had also lost everything that made human life worth living. The final irony was that the enhanced humans had become exactly what humanity needed them to be. They were perfectly adapted for survival in a galaxy filled with threats. They felt no fear, no doubt, no mercy when dealing with enemies. They could make the hard choices that normal humans could not stomach. As Their ships disappeared into the darkness beyond the solar system. Normal humanity was left to wonder whether they had been saved or simply given a different form of extinction. The enhanced humans would patrol the galaxy, eliminating threats and ensuring human survival, but they would never return home. They had become humanity's guardian angels and its greatest tragedy. The galaxy now understood that humans were not to be underestimated, but humanity itself had learned that survival sometimes required becoming something that could no longer be called human. The enhanced warriors carried the hopes and fears of an entire species into the vast darkness, where they would fight battles that normal humans could never win. Years would pass before the full implications of the human transformation became clear. The enhanced humans would encounter the Devourers and discover threats beyond imagination. They would make choices that would reshape the galaxy and determine the fate of countless civilizations. But they would make those choices alone, carrying the burden of what they had become so that others could remain innocent. The Awakening Protocol had worked exactly as designed. It had created the ultimate weapons against any threat to human survival. But it had also created something that challenged the very definition of what it meant to be human. The enhanced warriors were humanity evolved beyond recognition into something beautiful, terrible, and utterly necessary for survival in an unforgiving universe.